All right, so in this one, I'm going to show you how to record the output of your MIDI FX plugins in Logic Pro. Keep in mind, you do need to have Logic Pro 10.7.5. It just updated last week, so if you don't have it, you haven't heard about it, head on over to the App Store and download it. A lot of good stuff in that update, even though it's just a point update. But in this one, I'm going to show you one of my favorite features from that update, and that is the ability to record the output of MIDI FX plugins. Right over here, we just have an instrument loaded up. So if you ever used MIDI FX plugins in the past, you know they're really useful, except it doesn't record what's actually happening on the MIDI FX output so that you can have it in your region and then do more stuff with it there. So I'm going to go ahead and load in Logic's chord trigger plugin right over here. And I'm just going to go ahead and just play in some random chords, right? So the problem with that way, the old way, is that when you hit record and you had the chord trigger plugin sort of run through it in the chain, you get left with just the notes that you actually played and not the chords. So if I want to go ahead and send this to another producer to work on or pull it into another software instrument track, I'd have to pull in the same chord trigger. And it gets a little annoying. If I want to record this, I'd have to do some routing in Logic Pro, which I've done in the past and had videos on that. It was just a cumbersome process. Now, in the 10.7.5 update, all you got to do is go back to your channel strip over here, and underneath that plugin, go ahead and select record MIDI to track here. And now the actual output of that MIDI FX plugin will be recorded. So let's go ahead and record in those same chords. Right, so now we actually have the chords that we can use and sort of manipulate further right over here. Makes things a whole lot easier. You can also go ahead and combine plugins as well and record the output from the chord trigger to, say, an arpeggiator. So I'm going to go over here right under the chord trigger, and I'm going to go ahead and select arpeggiator. So now everything is going to be recorded up to this point after the arpeggiator. So now we're running through two notes on my keyboard, running through the chord trigger into the ARP, and we're getting the entire output of that chord trigger plus ARP here. And just once again, you can see how useful this actually is, being so that it's done all in real time. Not only can I just record the notes of what's happening in the MIDI FX plugins, I can also record effects as well. So I'm going to go right under the ARP over here, and I'm going to go ahead and select, let's go to modulator over here. And I'm going to select a preset here. Let's do pitch vibrato. But before we go in and record, if you notice this arrow right over here, the orange dots over here, they're found under chord trigger and ARP. So that means the only thing that's going to get recorded into our region is the information that's getting passed through these two plugins. But I want to go ahead and change that to make sure everything gets recorded into my region. So after modulator, I'm going to go ahead and go record MIDI track here. And let's go ahead and record in the same thing. And just like that, I recorded in the chords, the arpeggiator, and the modulator MIDI FX plugin as well. And if you take a look at these little sort of grayed out lines here, that is everything that's happening in the background with that modulator MIDI FX plugin here. And you can see all of that data if I select this, and I can go to modulation. Here's what's happening with that MIDI FX plugin. So really cool that it records the notes and any of the sort of modulation stuff that's happening on that MIDI region as well. Really useful, once again, to send that over to a producer and just they can play around with it. Or you can go ahead and just copy this down to other tracks, and you don't need to copy down the same chain of MIDI FX plugins because all the data is within that region. What's really exciting about this update is, let's say you just want to fool around on your keyboard and you don't really want to think about too much what key you're in and things like that. You can just go ahead and pull up Logic's transposer. Go ahead and pick a key of choice. Let's go to D, and we'll go to, let's say, Phrygian, which is a key that, a scale that Metro Boomin likes to work in. So now we can go ahead and press any note on our keyboard, and the right notes are going to be recorded into our region over here. right? So now anything that I played there just was randomly hitting notes, by the way, and all the right notes are going to be recorded into your region. So if I go and just quantize that, so now you can go ahead and have fun with just exploring new scales that you wouldn't have in the past. That's MIDI FX recording in Logic Pro. If you do have a question on this, we can go and chat in the comment section below. But other than that, thanks for watching. We'll catch you on the next one. Later. Peace.